Another Dooley Noted podcast comes to you from the Coach's Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill in Celebration Point. Okay, welcome into another Dooley Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And, of course, we're at Steve Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. He'll be along shortly to talk about the Florida-Georgia game, or maybe not. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about it. Thursday, Tom Murphy's going to join us from Arkansas. He knows all about Arkansas football. And then, so we're looking forward to talking to him and kind of finding out more about them. Obviously, it's a big game for Florida. I did want to bring up that if some of you if you're watching this on TV, you may notice I have a black eye. And I have a black eye. I wish there was a great story. I wish there was a long story. But there's not. I literally walked into a tree. I was playing golf. I was talking to a guy who was going down the fairway, and I literally just walked into a tree. My glasses dug a big hole in my eye. What do you call it? Your eyelid? Yeah, that's what it's called, eyelid. So yeah, I had to stop, and I was playing so good. I was 1 over after 7 holes, and I was playing so good. And I felt like the break I had taken was really working out. But I had to leave. There's blood everywhere. But it's fine now. It'll all heal. Everything's going to be good. But if you notice it, or if you don't notice it, if you're listening, you probably are going, "What's he talking about?" Hey, there it is. But anyway, it's not been it wasn't a fun Sunday. Anyway, it wasn't a fun Saturday either, to be honest with you. Let us get right to the important stuff, which is we'll start off with the process service of Gainesville starting 5. Appreciate Scott Hart and the people over at Process Service of Gainesville. By the way, today we will make a Leonardo's pull. So, Zach, be thinking of a number between 11 and 69. Okay? So, somewhere in between there is going to be the number. And then that person will win $25 at Leonardo's plus a Bob Dooley Invitational hat. We're almost out of those, so I'm going to have to come up with something else. But I will keep coming up with it. All right, let's get to the process service of Gainesville starting 5. Number 1, obviously, look, there's nothing about that game that I can tell you that you're going to go, oh, no. You watched the game. It was terrible. I mean, Florida got off to the great start, and then nothing went right. Too many mistakes. The 4th down call, which I didn't have a problem with, but it was a bad mark, but it was a 6-minute review, which to me is something that should never happen. But it doesn't matter. The bottom line is Georgia's better than Florida. They're a lot better than Florida. They took the right approach into the game, but I don't think it wasn't like Florida took a bad approach. I think they were ready to play. But they took the approach of, hey, everybody wants to kill us off. We're like Jason Voorhees. It's Friday the 13th. He's always coming back for another movie. We're coming back to be in the playoff. And we have to beat Florida to do it. If we lose to Florida, it's done for us. We're not going to get in. We really, because of our schedule so bad, we've got to win every game. And I still think they do have to win every game. And that's the approach they took. When they are properly motivated, they still may be the best team in the country. Obviously, Carson Beck was really good in the game. I think Florida's secondary got exposed for not being very good. They had kind of covered up some things. They couldn't get any pressure on the quarterback. The bottom line is they've got better players in Florida, and it's not going to be easy for Florida to get back to that point. The last 3 years, the combined score 129-47, last 3 games. And I do think that Florida fans, and I'm not, you have nothing to do with them losing the game, okay? Nothing. But I do think a lot of people who were very confident going into that game got way too obsessed with that win at South Carolina. It was great. I loved it. It was a special moment in Gator history to come back and win that game that way on that play. No doubt about it. But it didn't mean Florida was that much better. They beat a bad team. South Carolina's a bad team. They're 2-6 right now. And they looked terrible on Saturday. But I think people kind of got this false level of confidence, and I often said, is that whistling past the graveyard or what? You know, That's a good cliche there. But the bottom line is they're just way better than Florida, and they coach better right now. I mean, that's the truth. I know Coach Spurrier probably noticed this, that all their top coaches are Georgia grads. So I think there's something to be said for that. Anyway, it is what it is, and obviously the game Saturday is going to be huge for Florida to get bowl eligible. But that's the thing. Florida is trying to get bowl eligible. Georgia is trying to win a third straight national championship. I don't know that the chasm has ever been bigger. And I don't, not necessarily in terms of talent, but where the programs are. Georgia is in a great place. They're undefeated. They've won 25 straight games. Florida's in a better place than they were, but they've got a long way to go. As Napier said after the game, we got a lot of work to catch up to them. It'll happen because eventually Georgia's going to fall off some. We know that because it always happens that way. Nobody stays great forever, okay? That's not much consolation to you Gator fans. Number 2 on the starting 5, brought to you by Process Service of Gainesville. Napier, the play caller, is going to be called out again. In the 3 losses, they've scored 45 points. They've made mistakes defensively and special teams, but they still only scored 45 points in the 3 losses. So it's 15 points a game. You're not going to win too many games with 15 points. So, but going for the 4th downs. I mean, the 4th down, the first 4th down didn't bother me. The play call bothered me a little bit, but I do see the logic behind Mertz going up behind center and then snapping it to ETN. But you just shown that ETN pass in the last game you played. So they were ready for it, and they made a great play on it, and it is what it is there. But I had a bigger problem with the 4th and 3 where they threw a 1-yard pass. That to me, I just don't understand the logic. Now, you can say, well, against South Carolina, they threw a 4-yard pass on 4th and 15, and Arliss Borningham broke a tackle. Okay, but this is Georgia. You probably aren't going to break a lot of tackles against Georgia. They're good. They're really talented. They've got great players who've spent a lot of time in the weight room. Not that Florida doesn't spend any time in the weight room, but I'm just saying they got older players. They got guys that are veterans who've been around, even though maybe there aren't names that you really knew, they had learned. And this goes back to what Coach Spurrier always likes to talk about, which is the reason he had so much success at Florida was that the guys showed the next group of guys how to do it, mentally and physically. And that's where I think with Florida, that's going to happen. It's going to happen. I believe it's going to happen. Where the young guys are having to basically learn on their own and kind of pick it up and go because it's such a young team. But they're going to be able to pass it down to the next group that comes in and the next group that comes in. And that's what you got to do. It's just what Georgia's done. They've stacked like 8 recruiting classes in a row. Certainly 4 in a row, you can say, that have why their team is so good. And they didn't play great against everybody, but when they had to, they did. Too much was made of the Brock Bowers injury. Yeah, it may hurt them down the road. It wasn't going to hurt them against Florida. Anyway, all right, let's get to number 3, which is on the Process Service of Gainesville starting 5, which is Florida, Georgia, may be played in neutral sites according to the AP, which, again, it's almost a big story that isn't really a story because obviously when the Jaguars redo their stadium in 26 and 27, which is the plan, they still haven't passed that, the city council, but they will. But when they do that, they're going to play somewhere else, and there's been a lot of talk about home and away, but there's also been talk about neutral sites, and maybe they'll do that. And neutral sites pay more. If for a Florida home game, you get between $1 and $3 million. Depends on who you're playing. Okay, and some of it is because you have to pay better teams to come in here, whereas you don't have to pay. I don't think you pay anything for SEC. They're on the schedule. So you get between $1 and $3 million. For a neutral site game, you can go $5 to $7 million. So there's probably going. That's probably what you're probably going to see Benz when it's a Georgia home game, and maybe Orlando, maybe Tampa. Somebody mentioned Miami. I'm like, why would Florida play them? Well, recruiting, I guess. I still don't go play in Miami. Never go there ever again, in my opinion. But nobody is asking me. So the question will be, and I'm going to ask Robbie this because Robbie knows Florida, Georgia. Believe me. We have him on Yes, No, Where, maybe a little bit later. Brought to you by Big Mills Cheesesteak. Is that it may never go back after 25? Maybe the last Florida Georgia game in Jacksonville. I mean, they could play some where they do 3 games. One's in Atlanta, one's in Orlando, one's in Jacksonville. They could do something like that, but I don't know. That stadium, and again, I read this story on AP, and they said the new stadium's going to be about 40,000 capacity. I'm like, well, they're not playing Florida Georgia there. That's half the crowd. So that didn't seem right. So we'll keep an eye on that story. Let's get to number 4, which is that the reveal will be Tuesday night. Something Gator fans don't really care about right now. But we'll watch. I mean, if you're a college football fan, and I am a huge college football fan, I watched a lot of college football even after the Florida loss and certainly before the Florida loss because I love college football. But the reveal will be Tuesday night. Here's the order I would put them in. I would put Florida State 1. Although the Clemson win is not looking as good, they still beat an LSU team that's a really good team and handled them, and they're looking like a really good team. I would put Michigan 2. I would put Ohio State 3. I put Georgia 4. Oh, how can you do that? Well, Georgia hadn't played anybody, including Florida. They haven't played a ranked team. They're getting ready to play some, and they can still build it up. And it's important to them because they want to be where they want to be. In other words, the 1 seed gets the first choice. But again, they're getting ready to play Missouri, Tennessee. Those will be big games for them. Obviously, the SEC championship game will be a big for them. Feels like there's one other. I know Georgia Tech, which just knocked off North Carolina. So, yeah, it's going to get a little tougher for them, and they can still work their way up. But that's the way I would put it, and I think that's the way it'll come out tomorrow. I think it'll be FSU. It may be Michigan, FSU, Ohio State, Georgia, But if you just forget about what Georgia's done the last 2 years, there's no way just because they played a great game against Florida, a 5-3 Florida team, doesn't mean they should be ranked in the top 2, in my opinion. But again, nobody's ever asked me my opinion. They never even invite me to come on those mock selection committee shows. Well, now they're not going to, but not even in the old days. And finally, number 5 on our process service of Gainesville starting 5. I didn't want to mention the World Series. Again, still trying to figure out what skin I have in the game. I didn't watch any of it Saturday. I was watching college football. It takes precedence. I watched a little bit of the other game, and I went to bed before it was over. So I didn't see the great Rangers come back. But it's 1-1. Obviously, big game tonight. We'll let you know when the games are coming up going forward. But I just can't figure out who to root for. Again, Arizona, I have no problem with Arizona. I have no problem with Texas. Like, part of me wants to root for Texas because Wyatt Langford got drafted there, but I mean, he's not playing. So Dane Dunning is the only Gator. I guess I'll root for Texas, but I'm probably just going to root for whoever's behind or whoever's a visitor. But we'll see what happens going forward. All right, that's going to do it for our process service of Gainesville starting 5. We appreciate Scott Hart and all the great work he does. We'll come back and we'll talk to the coach, HBC, Steve Spurrier, 11-1 against Georgia. He's already lost 1 fewer game than Billy Napier's lost to Georgia. And actually 2 fewer than Will Muschamp lost to Georgia. But, yeah, obviously it was a different Georgia, but it was a different Florida then, too. Anyway, Steve Spurrier will join us when we come back, and then we'll eventually get to Robbie Andrew for Yes, No, Where, Maybe. All that coming up on another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios.
Process Service of Gainesville offers a rapid turnaround on affidavits of service for Gator lawyers locally and nationwide. Our friend Scott Hart offers immediate responses on status requests and is a member of NAPS and FATS. And he has been a part of the community for almost 2 decades. Need service? Call Process Service of Gainesville at 407-697-9592 or email shartgators, that's G8TR, at yahoo.com. And make sure you ask about the paralegal legal secretary bonus program.
This Tuesday at the Gainesville Quarterback Club, we welcome program senior writer of college football, Andy Staples. Always great insight for our club members. And then we have our Gator Gala coming up the week after that with former Gator player and now entertainer Jimmy Travis, where we'll honor 50-year-plus members of Gainesville Quarterback Club.
Thursday, November the 16th, come celebrate the release of our Spurrier's Gridiron Grill Lugo's Risky Rum. This exclusive release features a special spread of our farm-to-table food, rum cocktails, raffles, and a meet and greet with me. Each ticket includes a bottle of Spurrier's Single Barrel Select Risky Rum. And I'll sign the bottle if you'd like. So get your ticket before they sell out at spurriers.com.
Things have certainly got a little out of hand lately when it comes to just buying our everyday necessities. Just look at gas, streaming services, and heck, even chicken wings. Well, there is one necessity that shouldn't cost a ton: taking care of yourself and helping fix all the aches and pains in life, and the fine folks at Titan MRI agree. With costs a fraction of what you'd pay at a hospital, you'll not only save money, you'll be taken care of by staff with over 20 years experience. So when you need an MRI, call Titan first, and you can go where your doctors send their families. Now offering CAT scans.
Okay, welcome back to another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And Meldon Law also brings you Monday with Coach Spurrier on a Meldon Monday. And Coach, obviously, that first drive was a doozy. I love that first drive, and not much went right after that for Florida.
Yeah, we were all high-fiving, and man, what a start. Graham Mertz hit every pass on that drive, and I think he hit a bunch the next time.
He was 9 for 9, yeah.
9 for 9 until that ill-fated 4th and 1 play backfired on us, and then they went down the field and scored. But let me tell you something else, and I'm not trying to brag about the Georgia Bulldogs, but they're one of the best coach teams in America.
Yep.
And Will Muschamp, defensive coordinator, he's a better defensive coordinator now than I think he was 5-10 years ago, whatever. Yeah, people get better as they go, or they get worse.
Right.
And Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator, he was at South Carolina a couple of years ago, and I think he and Beamer had a falling out. I don't know what happened. But I think he's a better offensive coach than he's ever been.
And Kirby's a better head coach.
Has developed, he's been there 7 years or so.
8 years.
Eight. Yeah. And they recruit well. They got their NIL money straightened out. So they're a good program. But just because they can spend money on players does not make them a great team. They're a great team because they're well coached. Their quarterbacks don't fumble in the pocket. They don't get punts blocked. They do all the little things very smartly, like Kirby Smart, I guess. But, you got to give them credit. They're a well-coached team with very good players.
Yeah, they didn't have to play a perfect game, but they pretty much did. And Florida had to play a perfect game, and we know they didn't. Yeah. Obviously, the punt block and the fumble, on the strip sack. But it obviously went downhill in a hurry. I mean, it was amazing. I think they scored 3 touchdowns in 6 minutes, and that was where the game totally changed.
Yeah. Right in the second quarter there, those series of plays that didn't work out for us turned it around. And then there was a sense at halftime that we could not come back on them.
No, because, their defense is really good again. And I do think that Florida got their attention by beating South Carolina. And they said, hey, look. And like you said, with those 3 guys who are all Georgia players, I wrote about this on Gators Wire. Maybe Florida needs to get some Florida players because those guys, it meant so much to them to win that game.
Yep.
Not just in the national picture, in the Florida-Georgia picture.
Yeah, Mike Peterson, our linebacker coach, is, I think, about the only Gator.
The only one, yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the analysts, Cheston Blackshear, may still be there. But anyway, a lot of staffs do not have players from their school, so it's not
Yeah,
a
that's
complete.
true. That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
But it does matter to them.
I think it does matter more if that's your school and you're used to it and this, that, and the other. But I'm not sure. All of our coaches trying as hard as they can. That's we know that. But anyway, I tell you what, we better win this week because we're going to be underdogs those next 3 games after this one. So hopefully we can rally and get ready and beat Arkansas this Saturday.
Yeah, I think they're 7-point favorites. The first line that came out, wearing the black. I don't know what your thoughts are on wearing all black uniforms and black helmets. I'm not a big fan of it, but I'm a big believer. You pull on your blue jersey, you go win the game. But that's my philosophy.
Yeah, my experience wearing a black jersey in South Carolina, Under Armour had one of those Army days, and they had us in a gray jersey to start with white numbers. And the referees came out and said, we can't see the numbers. You guys got to go change. So I come in and tell our equipment guy, get the garnet jerseys ready. And he said, Coach, we shipped them off to get repaired. Some of them were torn and this, that, and the other. He said, oh, we got the black ones. I said, okay. So we lose to Auburn, a bad Auburn team, 16-13 that day.
I remember that game.
16-13. They ran the old tight end, fall down, get up and go. And they hit him with a pass. We went over there and tackled him, and he fumbled into the end zone. Now, when that happens, only the guy carrying the ball can go get it.
Yeah.
He gets up and goes get it. We had nobody to kick it out of the end zone or what. And we got beat 16-13. So I don't but we could play very well in black jerseys. We'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, and again, I think the emphasis on the black jerseys kind of went away with it being a noon game. A night game, it would have looked spectacular, but with a noon game, I don't know that it's going to matter that much. But you're right. They need to win this game because, look, they're going to play FSU's 4, Missouri is 18 or 15, I think, and LSU 16, something like that. So those are going to be tough games. So you need to get this game. I don't know if that puts more pressure on Florida. They've got to feel like if we don't win this game, we're not going to go to a bowl game. But
well, they got to go one at a time. I'm
Yeah.
sure the coaches say, "Hey, one game at a time." Here's Arkansas. They've had a week off to sort of regroup from their offensive woes, so they'll come with a new guy calling the plays and maybe an attitude that they can get a win here. We got to really be ready to play them.
yeah, Kenny Guyton is their new offensive coordinator. Was a player at Ohio State. After they let Dan Enos go, but well, we'll see what happens here. But Florida Georgia game, they're talking about it going to neutral sites in 2026 and 27, and then it may not come back there because they're going to reduce the capacity of that stadium and make it very small. And I don't know that the game will come back to Florida Jacksonville. I don't know how you feel about that.
Oh, I loved it there because, gosh, it's in the state of Florida. We take the bus over there, and it used to be in a stadium called the Gator Bowl.
Yep.
And I always used to tell people it's equivalent to us going to Atlanta and playing Georgia every year in a stadium called the Bulldog Bowl.
Yeah.
And our people said, that'd be stupid for us to do that. I said, that's what Georgia does. They come down here, and they tried to tell their fans it's like a vacation in Florida this weekend. And of course, they were beating us pretty good for a while. Urban and I got the best of them most of the time. But anyway, they've sort of turned
Well,
it
you guys
back
went
around.
16-2 against them.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
They've turned it around a little bit, the Bulldogs have. But anyway, whatever happens, happens. But we got a big one against Arkansas this week.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's going to be people that are down, and there's been some people putting stuff on Twitter that's just ridiculous and ripping Graham Mertz and everything. Graham Mertz wasn't the problem in that game. I think the defense got exposed a little bit in the secondary, and it's a secondary that's very young, and this goes back to they also lost the lines of scrimmages, and this is not a team. It's a team that's trying to build its offensive and defensive lines, but you can't just go to the portal. It doesn't always work out in the portal. I mean, you didn't have to deal with the portal, but you did get transfers every once in a while, but not like it is now where you just come in and play right away.
Yeah, back in our day, it's pretty much recruiting, though.
Yeah, it was, yeah.
And that's why those recruiting rankings at the end of the season were usually pretty reliable to what kind of team you're going to have. And that's why Alabama was, I think, number 1 in recruiting 10 of 12 years, and they were number 2 and 3 those other years. So they definitely had the best players according to the recruiting, and of course they had excellent coaches also. But now the recruiting is still important, don't get me wrong, but after 1 year, half of them may leave, or
Exactly.
you may go pick up half of your roster. So it's a little bit of everything, and but coaching is very important also.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Georgia recruits well. They pick and choose from the portal. I mean, 2 of the receivers they had that played well in the game came from the portal. And then they, like you said, they do a good job of coaching. They know what they're doing. They've got the same system in it. I mean, like, as much as I like Will Muschamp, Kirby's coaching that defense. I mean, he's out there. He's getting guys lined up. I mean, he's a very hands-on defensive coach, and then he kind of turns it over to Bobo and before him Munkin for the offense. So they've got that system down, and that's something that nobody's clear on what Florida's going to do going forward with the play calling. But I think they had a lot of good plays on that just didn't work out for them.
Yeah, when you play a really good team with defensive line that can put pressure on the quarterback, you can't hold that ball back there.
No,
you can't hesitate. You got to go back, take your steps, and throw it somewhere. And when you start hesitating and of course, NFL, they hesitate every play. It seems like they don't go back and let it go. Every play's a scramble play. But yeah, anyway, they're a very good team, and I don't know if anybody's going to beat them till the SEC championship game. I think LSU and Alabama certainly can beat them, but we'll have to wait on all that.
In your former home state, things are not going well. South Carolina.
Oh, South Carolina. I got too many home states.
Well, yeah. You do. Well, I mean, I consider Florida your home state because you were born in Miami Beach.
Right.
Yeah. So, but still, your former home state, where Dabo is going to have his first non-10 win season, and I mean, I watched them play. I watched every game they played. They're just not really good, and then and the quarterback's not very good, and then obviously South Carolina now 2-6, which. They had all this momentum built up, and it's just gone south.
Yeah, South Carolina was 8-5 last year. They got in the transfer portal, gave some money out, got a bunch of good players in there. Their recruiting was ranked pretty good, I think. But they played a difficult schedule.
They did, yeah.
And Florida and South Carolina are the only 2 SEC schools that, of our 4 choice games, both were Power 5 teams.
Yep.
So we had 2, Utah and FSU.
Right.
They had North Carolina and
Clemson.
Clemson.
Yeah.
They hadn't played Clemson yet. Clemson's struggling also, 4-4. So,
Yeah, I felt bad for Dabo. He was up there trying to explain it, but he's got no explanation. And I just think their recruiting's fallen off, and he doesn't believe in the portal. So, I mean, you've got to. It's so weird when you go through this last 4 years when you think about college football. You've had to deal with a pandemic, then NIL, then transfer portal, and either you adjust or you get left behind. And I hate to say it, but I think Dabo's gotten left behind a little bit. I know you're good friends with him, but I like the guy, but he's not doing real well.
Yeah, everybody's telling him you got to go get some guys out of the portal. And let me tell you something, Clemson's got plenty of money to give out, just like South Carolina had plenty of money to give out, which I think we did. But sometimes those guys you give the money to don't pan out.
That's right.
It doesn't work out.
Yeah.
So then you have the other guys on the team knowing this guy's getting $100,000 a year and you're getting about $5,000. And you might say, "Whoa, time out! How come I'm not getting my share? I'm trying to play the whole game." But that's part of the game now, and coaches, all coaches have to handle that.
And certainly some other interesting stuff that happened over the weekend, including Oklahoma losing to Kansas, and that now there's a lot of talk that Big 12, you may not get anybody in the playoff. Because. If Ohio State and Michigan play an epic game in their final game, the loser could still end up going ahead of the loser or whoever's in the coming out of the Big 12. If the Pac-12, if Washington and Oregon play again and Oregon beats them this time, I don't know that both those teams shouldn't be in.
Could have a shot.
Yeah, so, I mean,
Yeah.
the Big 12 could get left out.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Also, Michigan, obviously one of the best teams, although they haven't played anybody yet much really. But that stealing the sign thing, it's going to be interesting what they do with that, because they've got records of this analyst guy going to the 11 different ballparks, I think, with a ticket to the game and video and all the signal guys on the other team. So where that leads, gosh, I don't know.
Well, the interesting thing, or I don't know if it's interesting, but I mentioned this earlier, is that that's how one of the reasons Charlie Pell got in trouble. He was sending a spy to watch practices. He took things to a different level in terms of
back in those days, our practices weren't closed at Duke. Here at Florida, we had Coach Jones was the gate man. But, I mean, the writers could all come in and this, that, and the other most all the time. But I remember we opened with East Carolina and we were practicing a couple of weeks or so before the game, and there was a guy over there watching practice. And I asked somebody, go find out who that guy is. And the guy said, my wife works here at Duke, and I just want to come over and watch practice. He was some guy from East Carolina. They had sent a spy over to watch his practice, but nothing ever came of it. But we didn't pay any attention. We just let him watch practice.
Yeah, how often did you have to change signs or go silent?
Well, we started hiding better.
Yeah,
we didn't hide at all much early, and then we found out we better start hiding them. So you get a couple of guys, and I'd signal, or the other guy would signal, and try to keep it straight between the quarterback. Right now, our guys, Napier and his guys, we got these big black sort of
cover it up.
Cover up all of our signal guys, so you can't see from back this way, but straight across you know.
If you got a guy on the other side with a camera, you can
he's got a chance to see part of it.
Although you're not supposed to do that, it's against NCAA rules.
But they talked to TCU the other day, and one of their coaches, they played them in the the Final Four game, Michigan, and beat them. And he said, we knew that they could steal our signals, so we had a phony signal system, and we told our guys, don't pay attention to that first one.
Yeah.
Get
That's
the second one.
To me.
That is sort of funny.
But I mean, look, everybody wants to win. Everybody wants to take everything to the limit of trying to win, but you still.
But this is going to take it to the headset, just like the NFL does. Coach over there, you give him the play, and he tells the guys on the field what the play is, and away you go. And it doesn't cost that much to do that nowadays. And why the NCAA has been so delayed in doing it is stupid. Right?
You know why? It's because the smaller schools are saying we can't afford it, and I would say, well, then don't do it. We're still going to do it. We're going to do it in the SEC. We're going to do it in the Big Ten. We're going to do it in the big whatever conferences are out there still after the latest.
But, I think I read where they may allow it in the bowl games this year.
Really?
Something like that.
Yeah. Well, they should.
Yeah, they should.
And again, like you said, it's not that expensive. I mean, I was watching I guess it was the World Series, and the guy actually has a thing in his cap, and it went out on him, so he had to get another one brought out, and then he took his cap off, stuck it in there, so that he could get the pitches. So you know what? People used to steal signs. Miami was famous for doing it in baseball, where they had a guy out in the outfield who would be watching it, and they would look at it, and then they would have a monitor back in their dugout. When they had to get in the visiting dugout in a regional, they weren't as good because they were cheating. But anyway, it's one of those things. All right, let's get to our Campus USA play of the weekend. And, of course, there wasn't a lot that good that happened in this game. Florida did score 3 touchdowns, but 3 touchdowns wasn't even close enough. The play of the weekend brought to you by Campus USA, and here it is. Nice little slant, and then he makes the move. And
sure did.
I did like that they had a guy coming over there to block, and I guess it was Pearsall there, and that it was planned for him to come over there and block, so he knew right where he was going with the ball. And this was the kind of – and when that drive happens and that touchdown happens, I'm like, they're in good shape.
Yeah.
I think they can play with these guys.
Yeah, I think we were ready to play. I think our coaching staff did a good job getting them ready to play. And we came out and scored on that opening drive, and it looked pretty good for quite a while.
Yeah, I think that was Boardingham on the block. And the weird thing was Boardingham only caught, I think, one pass in that game. They didn't
Yeah.
go to him, and I don't know if Georgia took it away or what, but it worked for them. You got anything else, Coach?
No, just the big game this week. Very important, I think, for our season, really. But other than that, what else did I write down here? It's always interesting to me. All these coaches. Auburn just got a win, and Hugh Freeze was talking about how hard it is to win an SEC game, and or how hard it is to win on the road and all that. I was always taught that if you want your guys to do something, tell them it's not all that hard
not
now.
that hard.
We just got to play our game. Yeah,
That's right.
it isn't all that difficult. But it seems like all these coaches want to tell you how hard it is to win a game here, there, and the other. But anyway, so maybe we were just lucky a whole bunch of games. I'll look back, Pat. But,
I don't know about that.
We never thought it was hard. We got the ball players. We're good enough. Let's go beat the other team.
I will tell you this:
Simple as that.
people have put up this meme on Twitter about you being interviewed after the one loss to Georgia, and you said, "Hey, they just beat us, and they were better than us." And I'm like, "Yeah, that game, but none of the other games they played. Why is anybody picking that game out?"
Well, it can go bad. We know that. It
Yep.
can go bad, but don't let it go bad a whole bunch of times.
No, exactly.
That's what we avoided right there.
Exactly. 11 out of 12, by the way, and 16 wins over Georgia. So that record's still okay. I don't think Shig Jordan's coming back to break it.
Yeah, I think that one's going to stand a while.
Yep. All right, that's it for Coach Spurrier. We love having him on the show, brought to you by Meldon Law. We'll be back with more of another duly noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. Gator fans, football season is here. What's better than seeing the Gators back on the field? Easy. Seeing amazing speakers and fellow Gator fans weekly at the Gainesville Quarterback Club. Held every Tuesday night of a home game at the Best Western Gateway Grand. Enjoy happy hour, great food, valuable insights from yours truly and Andy Staples, plus notable speakers throughout the season. As the oldest Gator booster club in the world, Gainesville Quarterback Club gives you access to elite speakers like coaches, NCAA football insiders, Gator greats, and more. Share your passion for Gator football with hundreds of other members at weekly in-season meetings, home tailgates, and special events throughout the year. Join the Gainesville Quarterback Club today. Email the club at membership@quarterbackclub.org or visit thequarterbackclub.org. Or better yet, just give me a call and I'll get you to the right people. Hello there, everybody. I'm Pat Dooley, of course, from another Duly Noted podcast. This is a great Adam Brewer, and he's just opened up a place here, Adam Grip Co. To Go. What would give you the idea to do this, to have a to-go place like this?
We really like the fast concept, being able to get the barbecue. Now we have this new online ordering. So before it was a call ahead carry out, quick service. We have like a curbside kind of a deal where, everything's ready to go for you. And then we thought, wow, we have a really great dine-in concept, but how can we make this streamlined for the customer and make it easy and accessible for all parts of town?
Adam's Rib Co. To Go. Come on down and enjoy it.
Great food, great atmosphere, a diverse menu, everything made from scratch, plenty of space, and locally owned. These are all the characteristics of a great restaurant, and you can find each and every one of them right here in Gainesville at Ballyhoo Grill. Ballyhoo Grill prepares all of their food fresh every day, from their salad dressing to their award-winning soups. Bring your family and enjoy dinner under the Tim Trebo Tiki Hut while listening to live music. Or if you're running low on time to eat out, they also deliver through Uber Eats, Bite Squad, and Postmates. A Gainesville staple that's been open for over 30 years. Check out Ballyhoo Grill on Facebook or at ballyhoogrill.com.
I was driving behind a lady, and very suddenly she moved out of the way. There was a log laying in the road, and when I hit my brakes, I went on top of the log. I had 280 discs. I just haven't been the same since. Jeffrey Meldon fought for me all the way. Him and his team really went there for me. Throughout the whole lawsuit, he made sure that my bills was paid. It was never no whenever I called him and asked him for something.
Call Meldon Law right now.
Okay, welcome back to another Duly Noted podcast presented by Titan MRI from the Meldon Law Gator Studios. And it's a great pleasure to bring in on our Big Mills Cheesesteak Zoom line, the great Robbie Andrew. And I know Robbie probably was really happy to see Florida score those 2 touchdowns at the end of the game.
Yeah, except I didn't see him, Pat. I'd turned the channel by then, knowing the game was over. But the other game on the other channel was over too, kind of. So
Yeah, there were some
one of those days.
weird games this week.
Yeah,
Obviously, the Oklahoma getting beat, and there were a lot of games that came down to the wire. So it was actually a better schedule than we thought it would be. Unfortunately, the game that Florida played was not one of the better ones they played.
yeah. Well, the stunning thing is they got off to such a great start, Pat. And you're thinking, God, they can play with this team, and then boy, reality set in a hurry.
Well, one team adjusted, and I don't.
Yeah.
Again, this goes back to my whole thing that I always talk about, where is they say, well, we made these halftime adjustments. I'm like, well, why don't you make them in the second quarter? Well, Georgia did.
Yeah. Yeah, they did.
And of course,
And
Florida.
Pat, that was another example. If you lose the line of scrimmage, you're losing the game, and they lost both lines of scrimmage in a big way.
Yeah, could get no pressure, and Mertz got pressured. So it is what it is. They got a long way to go to catch these guys, and we saw how big the chasm still is. And it's not like it got bigger. It was always big, and it's been big. He was big in 2020. Don't forget, in that game in 2020, as good as Florida played, and I give them credit, Trask and everybody, but as good as Florida played that year, they also lost. Stetson Bennett got hurt on the second touchdown that made it 14-0, and they lost the other guy, the wide receiver, whose name I'd never get right, so I'm not even going to try, broke his leg on that play. So, a lot of things happened. But anyway, let's go ahead and put that aside, and let's get to Yes, Nowhere, maybe brought to you by Big Mill's Cheesesteak, street dining done the right way. And, of course, if you go in there and say you listen to or watch another duly noted podcast, you get free fries with the order. Robbie, number one on Yes, Nowhere, maybe. The Vikings are done now that Kirk Cousins has a torn Achilles.
Pat, as much as I have criticized my quarterback Cousins over the last couple of years, he was having a great year, and he was the player that gave them a chance to turn it around and get this thing back to maybe a playoff team. But now with him gone, they're done. They're definitely done. So yes,
not only is he done, but obviously having Jefferson out. I mean, it's. I'm just glad that I am not a Vikings fan. No offense, but I mean that's brutal.
Yeah, it's not going to ruin the football season, but when your team's out of it, you just kind of concentrate on other games. So that's what I'll do.
That's what I said Saturday night after I got done with my writing and everything. And Karen and I talked a little bit about the game and everything and all the other stuff. And I went, Karen, I'm going to go watch football. I'm going to go watch, and I was watching the USC game, overtime game, which was a great game. So
yeah.
Fact,
it's still college football, still the best time of the year, Pat. So the fact that Florida's not doing well and may not win another game this year shouldn't let that affect your football season.
I think Southern Cal should play every night because they're the best games every night, every weekend. I mean, it's just unbelievable how bad their defense is and how good their offense is. And
I know. Every game's a shootout.
All right, next up on Yes, Nowhere, Maybe. Robbie, the question that everybody's talking about, Billy Napier should give up play calling at the end of this season.
Well, except for the thing with Billy is his offense is you're starting to see what he does with his offense, but too many times under the gun, he makes ridiculous calls that you shake your head and wonder, why did he do that? And, look at the Missouri coach, he gave up the play calling. Now he says he's a much better coach because of it. He can concentrate on everything. So I think he needs to seriously take a look at that and maybe find a guy that can run his offense so he can become, the CEO of the program.
Exactly. I mean, I have no problem with going for the 4th and 1. I have no problem with it being a gadget play. I have a problem with it being the same play you just ran against South Carolina, with Etienne throwing the ball. And when Etienne's in the game, guess what Georgia's doing? He's going to throw. They're not putting in their lighter back to run the ball up the middle. Okay, so.
But Pat, you know what? Florida got screwed on the mark in a big way. It should have been 4th and like 2 inches, and they moved the ball a whole yard back. When they did that, Napier should have said that's not right, but I'm not going for it now. I'm punting. He should have punted.
Well, the other thing is, I timed between the Khalil Jackson catch and the ruling was 6 full minutes. I mean,
Yeah.
that is part of what's. I know it was a change in the quarter, but still, 6 full minutes is not right.
No.
Finally, number 3 on yes, no, where, maybe Robbie. If Florida-Georgia game goes to neutral sites in 26 and 27, which is what I think it may end up being what happens, it never comes back to Jacksonville. And I say that because Jacksonville's talking about a 40 to 50,000 seat stadium there.
Well, if that's the case, Pat, yeah, they're not going to go back there. The game is too big. It's such a big game in college football, the rivalry. If they cut down to 30, 40,000 seats, there's no way you're playing Florida, Georgia there. And I'm just wondering, are they going to move these things around all the time now? Are they going to come up with a permanent neutral site? How are they going to do this? But if they're going to do neutral, I'd rather just not do neutral and do home and home.
Yeah, me too. And here's the thing. If they go to neutral sites, and let's say they go Atlanta, Orlando, or whatever they decide to do, and they keep it with that, Florida, Georgia is not the same. It's not the unique, cool game. I think it loses. I wouldn't even have they may get rid of the Florida, Georgia Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, where they're going to have in Jacksonville and then not play the game there. So, it'll be interesting.
But Jacksonville has been such a big part of the whole history of the rivalry. I mean, people look forward to going there from Georgia and spending the week and getting in the RVs or staying out at the beach and all. And Jacksonville's been such a big part of it. It'll be weird without that being involved anymore, the city being involved.
Yeah, it would be strange, but I got a feeling that may be where we're headed. We may be seeing the last 2 Florida Georgia games in Jacksonville coming up. All right, Robbie, appreciate your time as always.
Okay, Pat. I'll see you again soon.
All right, okay, let's get to our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the Week, and there were not a lot of choices this weekend. Gator of the Weekend, I should say, brought to you by Adams Ribco to go. Great place to go get barbecue. And it's a constant stop for us. What are we going to do for dinner time? Adams Rib Go to go get it, bring it home, have a great dinner, still piping hot. Appreciate Adam Brewer and all the great work he does. I decided I'm going to go with Trey Wilson, and here's why. There were some people that I was considering, but to catch 11 passes in a game, and I know there were some bubble screens and pop passes and stuff, but still, he caught 11 passes. It goes down on the record book as that. The old record was, I think there were 2 players. I think Riddell was 1. I can't remember who the other one was. Had 8. We're talking about the freshman record. I think the overall record's 15. I think DeMarcus Robinson had 15 in a game one time. But anyway, for him to break the freshman record for most catches, this guy's a special player, and Florida needs about 21 more of those guys. He's an elite talent, and they know it. Georgia knew it, and they tried to defend it, and he was able to do great things. Anyway, Trey Wilson is our Adams Ribco to go Gator of the Week. Appreciate Adam very much. Let's get to our Leonardo's at Millhopper Quick Picks. Guess what? We're going to pull a winner today. I've got all the names written down. We've had a lot of, and man, the Florida Georgia contestants, I think it was the most we've ever had. For some reason, everybody wanted to pick on that game, and some of you picked Florida, some of you picked the winning team. But I've got them all here. Zach, I need a number. What did I say? 11 and 69.
Yeah, I'm going 55.
Oh, Scott Brantley's old number, and the winner is Andy McIntosh. Yeah, I think Andy won a long time ago, maybe like 2 years ago. So Andy McIntosh, who I know listens to the podcast and is a big fan, we will get to you $25 at Leonardo's and, of course, a Bob Dooley Invitational hat. They're really nice hats, believe me. I like them a lot. I wear mine all the time. In fact, I wore mine on – what show did I do? Oh, I did Doring and Peter Burns on Thursday. And I wore it on there. Bob Dooley Invitational. All right. I think there's going to be another one, but I don't know yet for sure. All right, let's get to our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. And, of course, Hesser and Kipke is a Gainesville law firm specializing in the areas of workers' compensation and family law. Ken and Jennifer take great pride in their one-to-one focus on each and every client they represent. Ken is board certified in workers' compensation law by the Florida Bar, while Jennifer possesses extensive jury trial experience with a nearly 20-year background as a prosecutor. Don't believe me? Well, check out their 5-star Google reviews, set an appointment at hklawfl.com, or better yet, give them a call at 352-339-9920, Hesser and Kipke. We appreciate them. Appreciate all our sponsors, man. You guys keep this thing going, and I do appreciate it very much. Number one on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. The NFL is cray-cray. I mean, what in the world? You think you've got everything figured out? This is why I don't gamble. I mean, you think you've started to figure out, and now the 49ers have lost 3 in a row. Brock Purdy looks like the last pick in the draft. What else happened this weekend? Oh, the Chiefs lose and don't score a touchdown. Now, Mahomes was sick, but they dropped so many passes. Sky Moore dropped one in the end zone. Just ridiculous. Denver beats Kansas City, which never happens anyway, but certainly wouldn't expect it to happen this year. So there were all these. Will Levis those 4 touchdowns in his first start. Will Levis is a guy who I said will never be a good pro. Those 4 touchdowns in his first start. Wrong again, Dooley. But anyway, it's just the NFL is a bunch of guys who are going to play hard pretty much all the time. Everybody except Olave, the wide receiver from New Orleans, who has been dogging it for my fantasy team, and I'm not very happy with him. Anyway, I still have the league going to the other guy's got 1 player left, and it's Jahmyr Gibbs, who I love as a player, and he's down like 13. I'm probably not going to win. Anyway, my team's not very good. I got sucked in on it to play on it, and then I didn't get in time for the draft at first, and so they drafted a guy for me, and it was Austin Eckler, who was hurt like the first 4 games. So, I got Dameon Pierce going for 4 points every week, and I love Dameon Pierce, but you get the point. So anyway, the NFL is cray-cray. Number 2, I keep hearing good things about what's going on with Florida basketball. However, we obviously can't see it. It's weird, and I need to check with my man Chris Harry about this. And we may get Chris on a podcast coming up soon before the season starts. But so is it an SEC rule that you can play these practice games but you can't advertise them? Because meanwhile, Michigan State and Kansas, I think, were playing on TV. I watched a Kentucky game against Georgetown, not the Georgetown, but Georgetown of Kentucky, was on TV the other night, on Friday night. But so it's not an SEC rule. Why can't Florida play these? I don't understand it. But anyway, I'm hearing good things, and everybody, some people are reporting on it, even though they're not supposed to, but they are reporting on it. Everything seems to be pointing in the right direction. They've got a really good inside game. And again, this is an offense that, Todd Golden's plan is to have 2 bigs on the floor at all times. He couldn't do that last year. Alex Fudge wasn't a real big. Alex Fudge was a 16% three-point shooter. That's what he was. But now they'll have 2 bigs on the floor at all times. They've got a lot of big guys, and they're going to be a better rebound team. We'll see. Again, everybody else is really good in this conference. So it's not like, Florida's got some transfer guys. So nobody's feeling that. But I think they're going to be fun to watch. It's going to be interesting to see how it goes. Finally, number 3 on Hesser and Kipke's 3 things. So, shockingly, soccer season ended. I have no idea it was close to ending because we haven't paid much attention to it. Again, I think their final record was like 6-4-6. They ended with a 0-0 tie. This is not bringing people to watch them. I can tell you that, Samantha Bohan. But they got better. They were better this year than they were last year. But the season's over because they didn't qualify for the SEC tournament. So, and they aren't going to qualify for the NCAA tournament. So their season ends. Unfortunately, women's, but volleyball is just, it's so sad to see what happened with Alyssa Stuckey, and Florida really handled it well for a while, and it just seems to have gone off the rails a little bit, and it's stunning. 6-4 now in the SEC they are. I don't know when Florida's ever been 6-4 in volleyball under Mary Wise. She'll figure it out. She'll bring it, Alyssa Stuckey back. They'll be eventually torn ACL, so it's not going to be this year. They'll be fine. But it's just weird not to have. There was a time when you could count on fall sports being a huge factor for Florida in the terms of the SEC All Sports War. Football would be good, have a good record. Volleyball would win the SEC. Soccer would win the SEC or be right up there. And not so much now. It's not working out very well for them. Anyway, that is our Hesser and Kipke 3 things. Let's get to our Swamp Games of the Week. And, of course, Thursday, Jeff and I will be out there doing the tailgate show at the Swamp. Come on out and see us. They've got all kinds of great specials going on. We have a blast when we're out there as well. We are allowed to drink beer while we do radio. I don't know if we're allowed, but we do it anyway. So it'll be fun. All right, so our Swamp Games of the Week brought to you by the Swamp Restaurant. Of course, Monday night, if you're listening to this Tuesday, it was last night. Vegas at Detroit. That is an 8:15 game on ABC. And then the Thursday night game, Tennessee at Pittsburgh. Doesn't do much for me, but you know me, I'll watch it still. That's on Prime Video at 8:15. The baseball games tonight and Tuesday and Wednesday are all at 8:03. That's what they say. Doesn't mean it'll be first pitch at 8:03, but it's supposed to be at 8:03. Fox, all those games are on Fox, and then we'll have an if necessary game on Friday or Saturday. Wait a minute, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday? No, it'll be on Friday. And then if you want to watch some college football during the week, I'm not going to get into. Well, I'm going to get into Thursday games in a minute, but I'm not going to give you the game times on those yet. We'll do that later. We'll do that Thursday. But if you want to watch your boy Jim McElwain on Tuesday night, Central Michigan is playing. I don't know if that's enough reason for you to watch it, but I don't even know who they're playing. I wrote it down, but I can't read it. As shocking. But Central Michigan is playing 7 o'clock on ESPNU. There's a bunch of other games, but most of them are really not. I'll watch them, but nobody else will. It'll be me. Northern Illinois. That's who it was. And that doesn't even look like. It's supposed to say NIU, but the N's not an N, and the I looks like an L. So, all right, NIU is playing Central Michigan. Thanks, Zach, for saving me on that. So those are our Swamp Games of the Week, and of course we'll have a lot of fun. This weekend is going to be a blast in terms of all the great games that are being played. I'm glad Florida's playing a noon game for that regard. Get done with my work and then boom, watch games, especially LSU, Alabama. We'll talk about that more Thursday. All right, let's get to our Gainesville Quarterback Club. Great picks, and of course I didn't do too bad this week. I went 12-8. I had a good week the week before. I was 14-6, I think, but 12-8 this week. Tuesday night, Ron Zook is speaking, so that'll be fun. I get to introduce him. I've got a good little speech prepared for Ron. Talk about how good a coach he was. One of the things I'm going to say is, everybody got mad when he went 8-4. They'd take 8-4 right now. No doubt about it. So here are the picks I'm going to make. And again, I crawled back with a great weekend. I went 5-2-1. The one game, I had one push. Vegas knows what they're talking about. But I went 5-2-1, so I'm only one game under 500. So I'm still losing money. If you count the vigorish, I'm losing a lot more money. But obviously, this is play money, fake money. It's monopoly money, but I'm still having fun with it. All right, TCU is at Texas Tech. Texas Tech giving 3.5. I'm going to go all home teams, just so you know. I just am tired of – you can't say that home field matters more in college football and then never pick the home team. So I'm picking home teams. Texas Tech over TCU, giving 3.5. Duke over Wake Forest. Wake Forest isn't very good. Given 6.5, although Duke scored 0.0 points Saturday. And then Troy over USA South Alabama. That's a Troy's given up 2.5. So those are my picks. I'm picking the home teams. And the trouble is I miss the early games and they come back strong on the weekend games. Maybe I need to quit picking the early games. Or maybe I'll pick some other sport. All right, let us finish up, as always, with Pat Dooley's Story Time, brought to you by our friends at Eastlake Pediatrics. We appreciate them so much. You know, I started writing down games against Arkansas that I've been to, and I was thinking, which one do I want to talk about? And I'll probably go back to another one on Thursday. But I want to go back to the 2008 game, because I always talk about this game, and people look at me like I have two heads. But I remember going to the game, and this was after the Tebow pledge. And we're going to the game, and you're like, man, we'll see how it affects Florida. And the truth is, it didn't affect them that well. They played terrible in that game. Luckily, Arkansas wasn't very good. It was Petrino's first year, maybe, or second year. Casey Dick was his quarterback, wasn't the greatest quarterback. And everybody talks about, boy, Florida took off after the Tebow pledge. Well, not in that game. They were bad. And then, Urban Meyer told the story the other day, but he's told it to me before. He finally hits Percy on a little slant to kind of put the game away in the fourth quarter, and comes off the field like he's depressed. He's walking like this, and Urban's like, come on, get up, fire up. And he comes over, and of course Tebow famously chest bumps him. And Urban thinks he's cracked a tooth because he hit him so hard, but he's like, but it turned out he didn't crack a tooth, but he was okay. But anyway, that game always stood out. And then, of course, late in that game, Chris Rainey and Jeff Demps, who I think were freshmen on that team, had two amazing long runs, broke all kinds of tackles, spin moves. And Florida ended up winning that game comfortably. But it didn't, the Tebow pledge didn't get that team fired up and ready to go. I think it did maybe later, but I've always said this. The Tebow promise, pledge, whatever you want to say, wasn't so much about firing up the team. It was firing up himself. And that worked out, as we know. They did pretty good. I think they won a national title. So that's our Pat Dooley story time. The other one I have, I'll give you about 96. 96 is one of my favorites. I'll give you that on Thursday, okay, for our Pat Dooley story time. All right, thanks to Zach for producing and for catching me on my mistakes. I appreciate him. Thanks to him very much. Thanks to my wife for putting a little makeup on this facial scars that I have from walking into a tree, which I know it's hard for you to understand how a person can do that, but I can. And no alcohol involved. That's the amazing thing. We'll be back with another show Thursday from the Dooley Dome. Again, hopefully this eye will be good enough, because I have to take my glasses off to do it there because of the light. It could be ugly. Could be an ugly scene. Could be like one of those things they put up on YouTube or something and go, look at this idiot with his black eye doing a podcast. All right. Hopefully it'll be better by then. Until then, I am Pat Dooley for Zach. And for Coach Spurrier and for Robbie Andrew. I am deep. I'm way back, and I am out of here. Boom.